This is my design wall quilt, and I love, love, love it. And today I'm going to show you how to make one for your quilting studio. Hi, I'm Di with Sister Chicks Quilting, and let me tell you why I use a design wall quilt instead of a design wall. First, I have a very small, ittle-witty-bitty space that I sew in, and I just do not have the room to haul in big sheets of 4x8 foam. And I didn't want to give up the wall space either. I thought this was a great solution. Now my design wall hangs on this strip right here. I just use T-pins to put it up with because those are fast and easy. This is like a bulletin board type material, and I've covered it with batting and a layer of cotton. Then the engineer screwed it into the wall for me right into the studs, so that thing is not going anywhere. So another reason I use a design wall, because I don't always want a big white wall here on my big white wall. I mean, that's redundant, right? Kind of joking there. However, when I go to quilt retreats, I've been known to pack my design wall. Let me tell you how I take my design wall quilt to a retreat to use and how I'm going to put it on the wall. Have you ever heard of command hooks? Those are pretty cool, right? I buy the command hooks that have the little wire hanger on them. Sorry, I guess I can't talk without my hands. Then I get out my binder clips. Do you recognize this? This is what we call a binder clip. I clip it over the quilt like this. Sometimes they stay, sometimes they don't. Let me show you. So I've got it clipped over the quilt. So I have it clipped over the quilt like this, and I fold this front clip down and I keep this back hook up. This back hook is what I hang on the command hook. Bada bing, bada bang. Now one time we got to retreat and the binder clips were kind of messy and soft and they weren't holding the quilt. So that is when Blue Block, she's so smart, took a pin, just a straight pin like this, and she put it in this side and out this side, so the pin was actually holding the design wall in front of it, and it stayed up just fine. And you know what? It was wonderful having a design wall at a quilt retreat. Now another time when I took one to retreat, there wasn't a wall to put it on, so I just laid it on one of the extra beds. That was really nice because you know what it's like when you lay out a quilt. Threads are everywhere. I didn't have to clean up the bed. And when I was finished with the design wall, actually we did so much talking on that retreat that I never finished the quilt. I just folded the quilt over right on top of the quilt I was working on, rolled it up, and took it home. And then when I got home, I hung the design wall up and there was my quilt. It was so cool. Those are the reasons why I love my design wall quilt. Now that I've told you all about them, I hope I've convinced you that you might want one too. And if you do, pay attention because I'm going to tell you how to make one in this video. A viewer from California made arrangements to come by the shop to drop off a quilt just as I started filming. I'd like you to meet Robin. This has been a crazy week, hasn't it? You've been traveling, right, Robin?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Robin is from California, and she brought this quilt by for me to quilt. So thank you so much, Robin.
I can't wait.
Oh, it's been so much fun meeting Robin. I thought I would tell everybody out there in YouTube land that, well, I quilt and they can bring their quilts by, right?
Bring them on in.
Bring them on in. You heard it from Robin. Hi, welcome to my long arm studio. Well, really it's my long arm garage, but I love it still the same. My name is Di with Sister Chicks Quilting, and Today, I'm going to be making something that you viewers always are asking me about. What about your design wall? How does that work? I see you moving it around. Well, I wanted to have it up so you could see it. This is my design wall quilt that I made. And right now it's in my garage, but I'm going to take you into my sewing room and show you how I use it in my sewing room and where I hang it, because it's actually a wonderful thing. Now, my friend Tracy from the Sewing Channel is constantly bugging me, when are you going to make me one? When are you going to make me one? She doesn't know I'm doing this, so it's going to be a fun video. In fact, I don't think I'm going to tell her when I make it and see how long it takes her to watch my video, because shoot, she may not. I just think that's kind of fun. This is what I'm going to be using to make this. First, I want to tell you a little bit about this design wall. I just have polyester cotton backing on the back. And on the front, I have the Warm Company's Soft and Bright batting. This design wall is over 4 years old, and it's had some pretty hard use. And at one point it got rather peeled up, and I'm going to show you later on the awesome tool that I use to clean off the peel. And all of a sudden my design wall was just as sticky as it was when it was new. I was so excited about that. I also have this fun border on it. I'll give you a close-up a little later of it. Since I'm Sister Chicks, I thought I'd stick with the theme, and I thought this chicken border was cute. One of these days I'm going to make another one though. Also, I want you to know that you do not have to quilt it on the long arm. I'm just not a great free motion quilter. It would be so easy to quilt on your domestic with crosshatch, and that is just perfect. And you don't want the quilting on this one very tight, so it would go really fast. But this is what you need, or what I'm using to make this design wall quilt. First, you're going to need some Soft and Bright batting from the Warm Company. I find that this is the perfect batting, and it's from a 90 wide roll. So this design wall quilt is going to be 90 wide by 90 long. Then you need a backing, and I wanted to, you know how Tracy doesn't like to spend money. She's my cheap friend, but I love her for it. Oh, she's going to hate me when she sees that. But I just went and bought a $14 sheet set, and it was all they had. They didn't have any white, and in fact this is 100% polyester, but it's going to look fine on the back of this. The first thing I need to do is iron this sheet. So I'm going to take it over to my Laura Star and press it up good so it's nice and flat with no wrinkles in it, because I'm afraid if I don't do that now, they will show in the design wall when I'm done. Let's go to my iron and get that task done. It's really not a task with my Laura Star, but you'll see how it works. Come on. Because the Laura Star can go through so many layers of fabric, I've folded this sheet in quarters to make it easier. Now if I can just get it to stay. You always spray the steam out of your Laura Star like this. The reason you do that is if it sets, water will collect in this cord, and you want to have a clear cord. I'm going to go load it on my long arm. You're going to love the design I put on it. And you know what? It's a design I picked out just for the Sewing Channel. I can't wait to show you. The first thing I'm going to do is put it on the long arm. Always center it. whether you're quilting on the long arm or quilting on your domestic. When you work with this batting, you're going to have some stretchy out parts. I don't know a better way to say it, but the batting will stretch at times, and so as you can see, I have this little part right here that's fighting against the basting. When I get to that, I'm just going to have to hold it down with my fingers, taut without being tight, so you don't have a kind of a wonky stretchy out part. By the way, can you see that I am quilting hearts with aqua thread? This is the back. I told you I would show it to you. So there's a teeny tiny little pucker right here. I'm not worried about it, I'll tell you why. Remember how wide the border on mine is, or the binding? This is going to have a 3-inch binding, so I think it's going to take that, the worst offense, up in it, and it won't even show. No one will ever notice it, but just beware that this can happen with this product just because it's stretchy. I'm adding a little surprise to the quilting on this. Here, let me zoom out so you can see. See what I'm doing? The sewing channel, and I'm doing it in red lettering because those are kind of her colors, and they will match this binding, which you keep hearing about. I'm going to be putting a really thick binding on this because the border is really what makes it cute. In the meantime, you just watch my machine here do its magic. And of course I will clip all of the threads. Do you like the lettering, the sewing channel? And then can you see the hearts behind it? The hearts are kind of Tracy's thing, so that's going to be fun when she sees this. I think she's really going to like it. What I'm going to do now is trim off the extra so I can bind this bad boy. I'm squaring it up a little bit as I go along. I know you don't want to see the back of my arm or back or anything, but you might. I love utilizing this big. This is the binding fabric that I'm going to put on Tracy's design wall quilt. And I will take you through the entire process. So if you want to make one yourself, you will know how I put a 2-inch binding, and it's not really a border, it's a binding because it wraps around both sides. How I put a 2-inch binding on that, and they came out even. Stick with me. First thing I'm going to do is take the selvage off because it's a cute selvage. And if you've watched my channel at all, you know how I feel about selvages. And I'm cutting my selvage at 2 inches. There will still be plenty of width. So let's get some strips cut. I'm going to need 9 strips to go all the way around the design wall quilt. I'm cutting 4.5-inch strips, okay? I bought about 2 yards of fabric, and as you can see, it looks like I have got about 20 inches left. If you're wondering how much binding fabric you'll need, just go with 2 yards. What I'm going to do now is sew these 9 strips of 4.5-inch width of fabric together. Now, I want to show you something. Take a look at that corner. This one's mitered, and so is the other side. It's kind of tricky. I haven't done it for a long time, but I sat down and figured it out. I think I have it, at least I hope I do, because I'm going to show you how to do this. And when I do, it's going to be forever on video, so we can all remember and learn how to do this cool mitered corner. Let's get these sewn together. How many of you noticed that I have changed sewing machines? This is Irene, my Juki DX7, and I'm sewing on her because I need a zigzag. I am going to actually put a zigzag stitch on this binding when I sew it down. Shoot howdy, if I didn't forget how to cut the thread here, I'm just gonna have to use the old scissors. Did you notice that I didn't have any marking for this line right here? I'll tell you why. I'm eyeballing it. Let me show you what I'm doing. And I want to start by asking, have you ever shot a basketball for a hoop or batted a ball? Of course you have. What do you do to make it successful? You probably already know. You're yelling at me out there on the video. Keep your eye on the ball. I'm just going to eyeball it. Now, before you freak out, here's what I'm doing. This is where I start right here. And the second that needle goes in, I bring my eye down, and the entire time I'm sewing, I am going to keep my eye right on this intersection, and I'll be dadgummed if it doesn't come out there every time. It's kind of cool. I don't know if I've taught you that or not before, but it's what I do when I'm too lazy and don't want to spend the time to mark these big, long intersections. And check it out. It came out right there on that intersection. Just a little hint, a little sewing tip for you. I'll continue sewing these intersections. This is how you press the binding. First, you always blow the steam out of the Laura Star. And I'm going to press open the diagonal seams. I'm going to fold the binding in half and press it in half. I'm going to go to the raw edges. Fold them over about 1/4 of an inch, pressing them down as I go. I'll fold it over again, making sure that this edge is lined up with this edge. Give it a final touch of Laura Star Love, and then I'm going to move on to the rest. I am just about to my first corner, so I want to stop at 2 inches, okay? Now, let me show you how I corner this. First thing you want to do, and this is a little bit awkward because we normally don't do it, so I'm going to flip this side flat like this. Okay, so I'm going to come to the end like so. I want this side to go flat like this. And notice it's opened. And then I'm going to fold it flat right here. And I'm going to come down the side like that. Now, I'm going to put a pin right here in the corner. I don't want this on the inside or on the outside. I want it on the inside. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to tuck it in underneath, just like that. And I'm going to keep tucking until this corner is at this corner. Then I'm going to put a pin in. So I have a miter seam on the outside that I haven't sewn yet. But did you see how I did that? I'm going to flip it over and show you how I do it on the other side. So on the other side, I want this to go straight like that. And I'm going to pull this piece up here and fold this over like that. And what I have is another piece standing up. But I'm going to tuck that underneath with my finger, just kind of work it out. And I should have it tucked underneath. And I do. So I'm going to put a pin in that piece. Did you catch that? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to sew this the length, and when I get to the other corner, I'm going to show you that corner again. But in the meantime, how am I going to do this? These are right on top of each other. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull the bottom pin out, and I am just going to slide it in my sewing machine from the inside corner and zigzag it up. My thread, by the way, matches pretty darn good. Oh dear, I didn't get it all the way. So I'm just going to turn it on this side and zigzag it on the other side. So the whole piece is zigged down. So I'm used to sewing on my Juki TL. So every time I want to go backwards, I keep coming over to the side with my hand. My reverse button is right up here on top, or it's also on my presser foot. All right, so I have that corner tacked down. I'm going to come along on this side and continue sewing, turning it and putting it right down. First, I'm going to, it is awkward. You need to get used to something new. I looked on the camera and the white is really hard to see the contrast, but right here is the edge of the top of the design wall quilt. And I stopped sewing, and this binding from this width to this width is 2 inches. I'll use my scissors as a pointer. So this is 2 inches. So I measured from the edge 2 inches down, and I've sewn right up to the 2-inch point. That will give me room to flip it. What I want to do is fold this back opposite, just like you kind of would a binding. So it's actually pretty intuitive. Open this up and fold it back like so. And then put your fingernails right here, and or we could put a little edge right there and fold it back down. Now when you fold it back down, I want you to line this folded fold that's pressed in, and I can feel it underneath. I've lined it up with the edge of the top edge, okay? Take that out, and this is what I have. Got it? See that little flipper there? So I am going to take a pin and mark this down. The flipper's still up, and then I'm going to tuck this inside. Using my finger, I could probably use my scissors as well. Okay, that fabric is tucked in. So I'm going to pull out the pin, and I'm going to go just on the top half. I'm going to pin right next to the fold where it's tucked in. And this pin did not go through, you know, there's quite a bit of depth in there because of this batting. So it did not go through to this side. So as you can see, this side is still open. So let's flip this over so we can do the corner on this side. So already I'm going to take this fold right in the center and put it on the edge of my quilt like so, and then I'm going to fold it over, and already I don't have to have the upper thing because notice it's folded all over already. After you do the edge and get it folded in, it should look like this, and you can see that your corner is just about to be made. So I'm going to put my scissors right here to hold it square, and I'm going to fold it over, and look at that. There is my mitered corner. And if I put an edge on it, so there it is. I'm going to sew it. Now remember, I have a pin. Let me put this down so you can see it. I have a pin on the other side, so I'm going to pull that pin out first. I don't know where it would hit. And I think I've done a better job of folding this one than the first one that I sewed. So I'm going to come right out here and then reverse. Oops. Clip it here, clip it here, and well, I got this side sewn down, but this side, the last time I did it, I remember I struggled with these corners as well. I only got this side sewn to here, so I'm going to finish sewing. So it wasn't down all the way. And the key here is use thread that's going to match. So there is my mitered corner. What I'm going to do is make sure that this is laid fully in, that the top of this quilt is tucked up into this fold. Looking good. So what I did here, fold it over on a generous 1/2 inch. Again, lay it on the line. Tuck everything in and pin it so that it fits. And it looks good on the back. Time for the home run. I'm going to step into the middle of this video and give some acknowledgements. First, I want to thank April Dahlberg, Kathy with a K and an I, Lesta, for sending me cups of herb tea. I really appreciate it, and it does support my channel. Thank you. I have a message for each of you. April, I'm going to keep making videos. And Kathy, you're welcome for the fun videos. Then Lesta, I love beautiful quilts too. Thank you for loving my quilts. I appreciate it. Now I would like to thank all of the viewers from last week's video. You know, the video where I was in the panel throwdown and cut my panel up into little bits. I didn't realize how controversial that move would be. There was probably, 5 or 10% of you that were shocked, ah, surprised, couldn't watch the video because I'd cut up the panel into little bits. Sorry, it's just how my mind worked, and I think my quilt turned out great. Nonetheless, I appreciate you watching my videos. Then Amber Sunshine, she had done the very same thing, but here's the amazing thing about her panel quilts. She bought several of them at a quilt shop in the dollar bin. Hello! I've never seen one for $1, but those must have been some fun quilts. She made an Irish chain also with a gray background. Way to go, Amber Sunshine. Then Carolyn Lewis, you asked for tips or tricks to tell you when you look at a panel how it might look when you cut it up. The only thing I can think of, Carolyn, is look at the colors. Are those colors you like? And do you have something in your stash that would blend with those colors? Remember, colors evoke a lot of emotion. So what are you trying to convey? Love? Sunshine? It all depends on the colors in the quilt panel. That's my only tip that I have. Pat Gibson must have looked at several of my videos, but I appreciate it, Pat, that you watched my scrappy pumpkin. I love that quilt too. Thank you for loving that quilt and for watching that video, Pat. I appreciate it. Paula Hoffman, you asked about my rotary cutter. Well, let me show you what I use. This is the Olfa Splash rotary cutter, and I have about 5 of them. You're right, it's so easy to change the blades on. Remember, the key to a good rotary cutter is a sharp blade. Last week's quilt, the Irish chain from the panel, so many of you absolutely loved it. I appreciate all of you who do. Ta-da! Here is the design wall quilt. So it is about 80 wide this way, and I think it's about 82 inches long. That is going to fit in her house. I've secretly asked her, and I happen to know that. Here's a close-up of the design I've quilted on it. I have aqua hearts to match the binding, and of course it says the sewing channel. And it's funny because it's backwards, but it looks frontwards on the video. It'll be interesting to see how it comes out. I put the sewing channel several places throughout. I don't know how she's going to hang it. That will be something we all have to wait and see. But what I'm going to do now is pack up for vacation, and I'm just going to leave this hanging here until I get back from vacation. Then I'll pack it up and ship it to her. That's kind of mean to do because I'm going to be gone for a week. I will do my best to get a video out next week. It'll probably be a fast one, but I think I can do that. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I enjoyed making it. And you know what? This is a project where you need to forgive yourself and don't be a perfectionist because you're working with a big piece of batting and a sheet that's slippery and a different binding method. So be patient with yourself. And if it's not perfect, who flipping cares? This is going to be such a great tool to have in your quilt room. If you like my videos and like learning about things like design wall quilts and other quilts, I'd love it if you would subscribe. Subscribe down below and click the bell. And you know what? We YouTubers love these too. Thank you for watching my channel. I appreciate you so much. Bye.